now we're going to go to my favorite segment every week, Last Week in Southern Labor. In this segment, we talk about what happened. I'm not a very creative person, okay? It's what happened in the last week in Southern Labor, all right? I'm not a very creative person. This is the name that we gave it. Jonah Furman has a newsletter, Who Gets the Bird. You can read his newsletter, Who Gets the Bird, at whogetsthebird.substack.com. In his newsletter, he combs through NLRB filings, he keeps an eye on the news, and he talks about everything that happened last week in the entirety of the United States in the labor movement. And so what we do, with his permission, with his cooperation, we go through his newsletter and we take out the things that happened in the South and we relay them to you here in our segment, Last Week in Southern Labor. So in new organizing, we had 140 sanitation workers for Republic in Winder, Georgia. They're organizing with the Teamsters Local 728 in the biggest election filing in Georgia in over 2 years. I'm going to have to talk to them. I got to get in touch with them. I've recently made some contacts with some Teamsters, and you can bet that I'm going to be trying to talk to some of them folks, because that is exciting. 28 Starbucks workers in Knoxville, Tennessee, who we're going to be talking to later tonight, they're joining the organizing wave that we've seen at the Coffee Giant, again with Workers United. The NLRB has impounded the ballots in the decertification vote against Steelworkers Local 13243 at ExxonMobil in Beaumont, Texas. The board is currently considering unfair labor charges against that the union brought against the company. As readers of the newsletter and listeners to this segment will recall, some 600 refinery workers authorized a strike in March, and the company responded by locking out the workers on May the 1st. Since then, there have been intermittent bargaining over the proposed changes to seniority, among other issues, but not much movement has happened. And as the company has openly supported, the decertification effort. The anti-union push among refinery employers has been out in the open since the spring, as Reuters reported, but no fight has been as large or as public as the lockout in Beaumont, Texas. So we're keeping a close eye on that. Solidarity with our sisters and brothers in Steelworkers Local 13243. Let's hope that they prevail and the decertification vote by the scabs does not go through. In strikes and bargaining, Bernie Sanders has weighed in on the special metals strike in Huntington, West Virginia, where 450 steelworkers, Local 450, or 450 steelworkers, Local 40, members have been on strike for months now. Special Metals is owned by a subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway, which is owned by Warren Buffett. Sanders wrote him a letter asking him to intervene to put an end to the strike, and Buffett says he will not step in. A boss is a boss is a boss. Negotiations at the Lexington, Kentucky jail have broken down with FOP Lodge 83, and the jail officers are now seeking intervention from the state. And finally, in strikes and bargaining, Tulsa, Oklahoma firefighters are getting a 4 to 12% raise after going to arbitration and losing. So we'll see. That doesn't sound bad, but it says that they went to arbitration and they lost. So I can't remember the context there, but that's not too bad. In politics, we recall that the CDC openly embraced the push to have quarantine time for asymptomatic COVID cases to 5 days as opposed to 10. AFA-CWA's, the Flight Attendants Union President Sarah Nelson, and the National Nurses United vocally called them out for this because that doesn't make any sense. Like, you can still spread COVID when you're asymptomatic. So why would you not be quarantining for the whole 10 days or until you're or until you are not contagious? That's crazy. But not to be outdone by the CDC, OSHA has actually rescinded its emergency temporary standard for healthcare workers' protections against COVID-19. During the largest surge in cases that we have seen since the pandemic, of all the times to rescind the emergency temporary standard for healthcare workers, you're doing it now? That's crazy. This is the Biden administration. I mean, good grief. This is what he ran on. He ran on this nonsense about restoring the soul of the country or whatever the hell, and also being better on COVID than Trump was. And now his CDC is having the quarantine time, and his OSHA is rescinding emergency standards for protections against COVID for healthcare workers. It is absurd. Speaking of OSHA, the Department of Labor has announced an audit of OSHA since 2016, specifically in whether and how aggressively the agency has addressed injuries and COVID safety protocols at warehouse and order fulfillment facilities of online and other retailers. Obviously, that's targeting Amazon, right? And Amazon, as we've seen from multiple reports, has absolutely insane injury rates. They have nationwide, an injury rate of like 2 times what the national average for other warehouses is. And at the JFK facility in New York, a study that came out in 2019 based on 2018 OSHA data showed that facility had 3 times the national average for other warehouses and was more dangerous than, get this, let's see, where did I put that quote? It is more dangerous at that Amazon facility than coal mining and law enforcement. Holy crap. So, yeah, absolutely, OSHA should be, the Department of Labor should be auditing OSHA, their agency's response to the injuries and safety protocols at, fulfillment facilities, at Amazon. And finally, the Department of Labor has officially rescinded a rule put in place under the Trump administration in 2020 that required more reporting and transparency for union-run funds, including strike funds, apprenticeship programs, credit unions, etc., etc., etc. The attorneys of Maples, Tucker, and Jacobs are proud to represent working people in Alabama and across the Southeast. They have over 100 years of experience representing injured workers in workers' compensation, personal injury, and disability claims. Let their attorneys help you when you get injured on the job. You can find them at www.mtandj.com or 855-617-9333. Let Maples, Tucker, and Jacobs help you when you get injured on the job. Again, the website is www.mtandj.com or the phone number 855-617-9333. No representation is made that the quality of legal services is greater than the quality of legal services from other law firms.